All right, guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for another daily dose of dismal Disney. We're going to talk about Disney's new offerings to try to lure people back to the parks. It's very underwhelming.
Yeah, it's just basically stage shows and meet and greets for the most part.
Because they're cheap. They're cheap.
Well, yeah, and they just had this new thing, Goofy's taking over Communicore Hall. I'm serious, they're calling it, it's Goofy Core.
Goofy Core,
and it's basically like a bunch of games. It's obviously geared at children, but they play in parachutes like it's gym class.
Yeah. This is kind of like when they had Cornhole in Magic Kingdom. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because Pirates was closed. They were trying to entertain people, so they had Cornhole.
So
they had the cast members having people play Cornhole. But yeah, when you see this, it's like a middle center, and there's like screens, and the screens change depending on the game. They have Goofy Limbo. They have this parachute game.
Yeah,
and then Goofy
the
Says. It's totally geared for kids, which is fine. But Communicore Hall was initially, I was there at the original Communicore Hall. It was very, very impressive. It was about, forward thinking. It was about, all the impressive technological advancements coming to different industries. And even innovations, was even more interesting, even though people didn't visit it very much. It was more interesting than this. So they take it out, make it a giant cafeteria, more or less. And their answer is to make a board game and to play Goofy Says and play Gym Time Parachute. And that's their idea of entertainment. But so good thing they're showing Epic Universe.
I'm right. I'm sitting there thinking like Interventions was more impressive.
That's what I'm saying. Interventions was pretty much dead, and it was more impressive than this.
Yeah,
but they had to change it, and they changed the space out depending on the festival. But this is just, for the summer they're doing this until September 1st. And they're doing it for the summer. If you have little kids, I guess it'd be a fun little thing to do with Goofy that you'll remember. But otherwise, it's just they're playing parachute like gym class.
Yeah, this is they do stuff like this. I've noticed that they do this around the parks too. For those of you who go a lot and you have small kids, they have like arts and crafts and stuff. And a lot of times it's like, oh, let's dump the kids off someplace while the adults go ride the coaster, right?
Well, I don't think you could dump your kids off.
No, I don't think. Oh, trust me, people could just dump their kids off on Goofy.
Hey, some people just leave their kids in strollers and go ride the rides anyway. That usually happens more at California.
Yeah. Yeah, people think. This is how people get hurt. They think that Disney is like this bubble that nobody can actually get hurt or kidnapped or whatever. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how Disney it's just really underwhelming at this point. And then they're making some really unpopular decisions with,
it depends
Muppets.
Who you ask?
Muppets,
yeah.
Muppets and more Muppets. Very, very bad decision. They could have put it in the animation building. I'm just saying it would have made more sense for Monsters Inc. to go there, but whatever. Let's talk about this. Before we get into any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Just to recap, for those of you who are new, the reason we go on about the dismal Disney stuff is we've worked in and around the company for years. We used to be full-time Disney bloggers, influencers, whatever, been to many, 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 many media events. We kind of know how the company thinks, or at least I thought I knew how the company
No, I'm pretty sure we know how they think. It's just we don't agree with it. So
I don't agree with it. The Eisner era was definitely better than the Iger era.
We want Disney to go back to being good and not what it's been the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, it's not impressive. There is no more wow factor. The wow factor is across town at Epic Universe. And it's so weird. A lot of Disney people, I'm just going to touch on this real quick. We're going to try to get Squid King on to talk. He actually went to the opening day. He was there last week with his friend. And, they're trying to Disney people are trying to be like, nobody was there. The crowds were very light at Epic Universe. It's like, no, that was by design.
But wait, which day did they go? Because if they're a media blog, they could have gone on the day before it opened and it was limited to the media.
Yeah.
And some other preview people. So, but we'll get Squid King on. It was actually really not that bad on opening day, but it still had 5-hour lines for certain rides. But it was because they were limiting, I think, some of the people that were there for opening. But on the 19th, he was also there, and it was, I think, a lot more busy. So we'll get him on and he can talk about it because he also saw Miyamoto and he has some fun stories to talk about. So we'll have to get him on for that.
He saw Miyamoto twice, I think. That was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
So we'll have to get him on so he can talk about that. He's been busy the last couple of days. So we'll get him on here. He just got back from Florida on Monday. But another thing, going back to this, the things that they're doing this year, there's several meet and greets. They're calling it something summer, and then they have like the hotels are going to have characters now. So their answers are going to bring characters to the hotels.
Yeah.
Then they have the new villain show opened, I think yesterday, and the new Little Mermaid show opened yesterday. And the villain show is mostly screens. So people are kind of like, but it wasn't a terrible show. It's just that I mean, it'll entertain and cool you off for like 20 minutes or whatever it is, 15 minutes, I think. But it's a lot of screens, and people were kind of questioning that because they didn't have as many actors to hire because there's like 3 or 4 actors and that's it. And then we have the new Little Mermaid stage show, which is like the original, but they made it, I guess, better. However, again, it's a stage show, not anything that's financially, involved. Because they're working on that stuff now, but so they're trying to shit out some stuff that are quick so that they can make money by like retheming the shows they already had existing, like Little Mermaid, or they had the old Lightning McQueen show. They just took that out and made it this villain show. So just repurposing spaces with overlays or doing character meet and greets.
It's all being done on the cheap, right? And the thing is that, look, as long. This is true of anything, and it doesn't matter, what industry it is, if it's theme parks or media or whatever. As long as people are happily turning over their money to these companies, they are not incentivized to do anything more than the bare minimum. Walt Disney himself always wanted to push things to the next level, right? At great expense. I mean, he almost went bankrupt a couple of times because he wanted to keep pushing things. But he did it because he wanted to see how far he could go. He wanted to see how far technology could go. Current year Disney does it for profit. How far is how high is the share going to go, right? So it's all about maximizing profit. And if people are willing to pay $125 to go in and see a puppet show and play with a parachute, why would you build another coaster?
$25 sounds like a bargain day.
I know, right?
But the good news is, on the good side, that it gets really very, very, very hot in Florida. These would be nice places to go. You could cool off for like 15, 20 minutes. You get a little bit of a break in the air conditioning and, watch a little show while you do it. So, there are some upsides to this. And the Little Mermaid show is always a fun show. Towards the end, though, I know the last few years before it shut down during the pandemic and just didn't reopen. The crowds to go in were nowhere near what they were, several years before it. I would say the same thing can be argued for the Muppets 3D. The crowds were not there. And to be fair, people are mad about it. And I don't like they're shutting that down. That being said, it really wasn't that busy over there. Other than people going to Pizza Rizzo when it was open, because sometimes it was seasonal. And, maybe going into the Muppets Theater to cool down or because it had low wait time. It wasn't busy over there. So I kind of get why they made the choice they make. I just think it sucks.
Yeah.
But I get why they made it.
I think it sucks, but if I'm being objective, right? And I love Muppet Vision. It's actually one of my favorite things in Disney. But if I'm being objective, it was never busy. I don't remember.
No, it was back in the day because I was there back in the day, and it was. But there's a lot more people. They don't want to sit through shows like they used to.
Plus, and Muppets are kind of damaged goods under Disney at this point. Like nobody really cares about them anymore.
That show was made pre-damaged goods, though.
Yeah.
But other than going in to take a seat and have something to do for 20 minutes so you can get a rest or a little bit of a break, it wasn't really one that was super popular lately. People now, they don't want to sit for a show. They rather go ride rides. And it is what it is. And they're going to go stand in line for 3 hours for, Rise of the Resistance before they go sit through Muppet Vision. But Disney's doing this. They're bringing back these stage shows, which is cool. And it's a really good place to go get cool. Unfortunately, it's not to the level they need it to be.
Yeah, I think it's just, people that are really into everything Disney are obviously going to love it because it's, Disney. But it's just, you look at the value proposition, I think, and it's just, come on. But they've been doing stuff like this. It's just they're doing more of it. It's basically putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Like they're trying to do what they can do to freshen things up without breaking the bank. And they really, again, to maximize their profit, because they got to make up for some of those other losses, some of those box office bombs. They're going to do what they can do and whatever they can get away with. And modern Disney is not incentivized to. They're not going to look, everybody's like, oh, they're going to open the fifth gate to compete with Epic Universe. I'm like, one, I don't know if they could. I don't know if the infrastructure really is there to do it. I've heard it's not really there because they've eaten up all the land, because the park isn't just the park. It's everything around the park that goes in, feeds into the park. And two, there's really no incentive as long as they're making maximum profits. And, apparently they're doing very, very well. They're juicing the attendees they have.
Well, back to the kids thing with the parachute. I was going to say, to be fair, Epcot doesn't really have a lot of kid things in it.
No.
I mean, you have Nemo, the Seas with Nemo, and you have Dream Imagination. Those are more kid-based. But they really don't have a lot of kid things. Like in the World Showcase, they had like the little kid caught stops, but it's not really kid-friendly. So I guess I can see why they're putting some more kid stuff in, because they're trying to get people to bring their kids.
Well,
come into the food, to the food and wine or whatever, and
bring your kids and dodge all the drunk adults and
right. Have a reason to bring kids. Come play with Goofy while mom and dad have
get goofy.
Yeah, I think that might be part of the reason why they chose to do it. I just think that playing parachutes at Communicore Hall is just, to me, mind blowing. If you saw what it was back in the day.
I mean, look, everything kind of degrades over time anyway, because the Disney, like when Epcot first opened, they only had the 2 parks to take care of. Now you have 4 parks and water parks and golf courses and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
hotels, resorts out the wazoo.
Oh my God, yeah. So it's become a city. So like stuff is gonna slip. Things are gonna slip,
but they're like slipping a lot, because they're right
slipping
now,
a lot.
Well, everybody else is. I mean, they promise all this cool stuff eventually. They're very slow to get things done. I mean, traditionally Disney's very slow. A lot of it, like even now, Dinosaur is going to be Indiana Jones, just a reskin of a building they already have. It's, until they start adding some new things like they're promising to do. Even though I wonder what's going to happen with the new Cars ride in Magic Kingdom, because people are really, really pissed about the rivers of America. I am among them. Taking the river out the whole way when there's no reason to. You could leave part of that river there. You need it there. You really do need it there, especially in front of the Haunted Mansion. And but people are there. There's so much pushback. I don't know if they're going to change plans on that. I'm wondering, but it's going to take them a while. So what are they doing in the meantime? They're just going to do quick little stage shows with stuff they already have. They're going to do meet and greets with more characters and have characters come to the hotels and then say, "Bring your kids. It's a kids' summer." Yeah,
it's Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. That's all it is.
Because it's going to take too long to catch up.
Yeah, and I don't even know at this point, like I said, I don't even think they're really incentivized to do it. I mean, they could decide tomorrow to build another park, but it takes them 5 years to build a roller coaster at Disney.
I wanted to laugh, but it's true. Meanwhile, Universal has a whole park built in that time.
Yeah, and it's impressive. I mean, it's impressive. So,
all Squicken kept saying the entire time, he kept writing me that whole first day he got there, and he just kept saying, Disney's so screwed.
Yeah,
Disney's so screwed. And even his friend, who's very much a Disney fan, is like, yeah, Epic took it to a next level.
Because they had to try. They had something to prove, and they had the resources, and they have a lot of the old school Imagineers over there now too. So Disney let those people go years ago, and then they built Islands of Adventure.
It's amazing what can happen if you let them do their job.
Yeah, right. And they're actually, I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at was it Celestial Park, and that's more like pure. They don't call them Imagineers over there, but that's more pure Imagineering. You'll never see something like that in Disney now because it has to be tied to one of their movies.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of these lands were tied to the movies too, but they just found ways to. No, it wasn't. But they just found ways to just massively take up a notch, and it is hyper impressive. Now, it would be interesting to see how this stuff holds up. To be fair, because I have saying to be fair a lot, but it's true. These can be really impressive initially, but that doesn't mean they're going to hold up. So hopefully it does. But I know he was very impressed, and like I said, his friend that went with him, big time Disney fan, and he's even like, Disney is, holy crap. That's what you would expect it from Disney, 15 years ago.
Yeah. So, and they just, they got complacent. And I think, honestly, they need the competition. Like, if you want Disney to go back to being great again, if you want to make Disney great again, or make Disney Walt again, how do you do that? Make MDWA. I don't know, whatever. it's going to take pressure from outside, sources, and everybody's going to have to, go to these other parks. And a lot of these other parks are catching up, and will
Steel
soon.
sharpens steel.
Yeah, they're going to surpass Disney. And Disney knows it. They're just trying to hold off. I'm like, meanwhile, let's go build a bunch of cruise ships. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, they're really putting all their focus on overseas and cruise ships. WWWD. What would Walt do?
None of this. He would just be like, I don't know. I think he actually would have probably expanded globally, but he would have had more control, I think, over it. So anyway, let's wrap this one up, guys. There we go. Band-Aid on a gaping wound. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.